Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Poetry News. I'm Martin Gray, coming at you from Motorway Services just north of London. It's beautiful here. And joining me today, R.sen and Eddie. How are you doing, everyone? Are you well?
Hi.
How are you guys?
Yeah, really well, thanks. You? Yeah, so unfortunately, Squigs can't be with us today. He's not very well, and we wish him a speedy recovery. So get well soon, Squigs. We hope to be back with you soon. And before we start, why did Shakespeare go to McDonald's?
Ooh, why?
To have a Big Macbeth.
Yes. Those Shakespeare jokes.
I have plenty more of them, so we're good. But yeah, I shall move swiftly on. Coming up on the show today, we have lots of exciting things for you. And we start with a new book by New Jersey-based poet Cynthia Dewi Oka called Fire is Not a Country, to be released in November through Northwestern University Press. It's 112 pages long and costs $17 US. It is Cynthia's third collection, and quoting from the publisher, the book dives into the implications of being parents, children, workers, and unwanted human beings under the savage reign of global capitalism and resurgent nativism. Now, I couldn't find any of Cynthia's poetry from the book online, which is really good control of the material when you think about it. People need to buy the book. But I did find one of Cynthia's poems from a few years ago that I would like to share with you today to give a flavour of her work. And it's called A Conversation with My 6-Year-Old About Revolution. When 3 feet of sunshine, missing 2 front teeth, asked me why do we need revolution, all I had was a grenade in my mouth. I held him for a while and watched him draw clouds and trees and ladybugs, and a house filled with everybody he loves. When was the last time we put to image what we thought the world should be? When did it become enough to know how to promptly explode? I said to him he was much better equipped to figure out the revolution than his mama. That if I don't, he's got to disarm this bomb and throw it out the window. Because the revolution is not about self-defense. It's about self-creation. It's about seeing farther than the walls directly in front of us. And my 6-year-old has got a head start. So this is available through Northwestern University Press. It's available for pre-order now. Fire is Not a Country by Cynthia Dewi Oka. So R.sen, Eddie, what do you think about this? Like the poem, sounds good to you?
Oh yes, and the title. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Eddie.
The poem itself is beautiful, and the title of both the poem and the book are just. I immediately was like, wow. As soon as you said the title of the book, and the topics shared are very, very interesting. And I would say, although I don't like using the word, but it is very relatable and relevant for our community and our time today. And the poem itself is very beautiful. One line struck me was like, all I had is a grenade in my mouth. And that is very, very powerful, especially that like an adult trying to explain these complicated and these adult themes and topics to a child is interesting, because I saw that there was a juxtaposition between a grenade and I think it was a ladybug in the poem. I found that very beautiful, beautiful poetry. Can you tell us the name of the book again?
Yeah, it's Fire is Not a Country by Cynthia Dewi Oka, and it's through Northwestern University Press.
Yeah. I'm also personally proud because I'm also from New Jersey, so it's really cool to see other poets from here do well. And I'm ready to. I've been always wanting. Actually, I mean, on a personal level, I've been trying to tap in more with like my inner child with my work, and to see that this is coming out at this time, it motivates me to want to pick it up and read it for sure.
It feels like a really important feature of Cynthia's work. I wasn't aware of Cynthia before doing this research, but the third book is very much about that. This is from a previous book. It seems very much integral to Cynthia's work, and you get I think over 100 pages in this collection. So absolutely, it's available for pre-order now, and same as you both. I'm really looking forward to getting a copy. So thank you, R.sen, thank you, Eddie, and thank you to Cynthia as well for writing such fantastic poetry. And we will be back with Eddie right after this.
Thank you, Martin. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Eddie, and I'm joining you from Batoun in the north of Lebanon. Today, I am bringing you a workshop that deals with what we call eco poetry. This workshop will deal with climate writing, and it is hosted by the Baker Street Productions and facilitated by Matt Sowerby. This workshop, the organizers of Baker Street Productions will bring you the second in a series of 3 creative workshops on climate change, which are running during the COP26 in November. This 2-hour session will include games, writing activities, discussions, and readings. Together, you will be exploring the power of writing to bring about change, the narratives surrounding the climate and ecological crises, and our own personal relationships with our environments. Participants will learn to use creative writing to begin to find more empowered and hopeful ways of addressing the challenges of our times. This workshop will take place on Monday, November 8th, which is a week from now, at 6 p.m. GMT. Ecological writing, environmental writing. What do you guys, Martin and R.sen, what do you guys think about this type of writing?
As my base of most of my poetry is social justice, so this falls like right in there with me. It's just part of not social justice really, but like awareness that people need, and it's important that people touch on it. I think there was an anthology by the New Yorican that came out recently where they did something similar, where they had poets actually contribute, like local poets contribute to them, and it was letters to Mother Earth or Gaia. So I feel like this would go really cool with that, and this would like help people like get into more awareness and education in terms of that.
Well, it's exactly that, isn't it? And this is where poetry can be such a gateway into this subject, because we quite rightly, it's really important that we hear about all of the damage that's being caused to the planet, the urgency, the further increased urgency in correcting it. It can feel very overwhelming, even though we have to do something about it because we have to. And poetry is a great way into that, because it's a way of perhaps telling part of that, maybe making something a bit more relatable, a bit more personal, something a bit more bite-sized that you can really grab and focus in on with that. So I think it's such an important way of doing it, and I think especially while this COP26 is going on, this is a great time to really, this is really in the public eye more than ever, and it's a great time to bring that forward. I will say, I do feel there's a slight irony in people flying from all across the world, from hundreds of countries, to talk about how to reduce the impact on the environment, but that's not strictly related to poetry. It's just something that
you're not wrong
about. But yeah, this is a fantastic work. It's so true, isn't it? But it's like, this is a fantastic workshop, and the more we write about this and talk about this and get it on a personal level, get it on the level for children as well, which is really important, the better chance we have of actually saving this beautiful rock that we spin around on.
Agreed.
And like you can see that writing in all social justice or any social issue or any issue that has been used, poetry is the way we can deal with it. It is a powerful tool. I mean, with the poetry we talked about earlier, with dealing with capitalism and social change, and now with this workshop on environmental issues, which capitalism and environmental issues are extremely entangled and related. So it is interesting to see that the world today focuses a lot in poetry. The world of poetry today is focusing a lot on these issues, and that's the right way to do it. That's the way to deal with that stuff. All right. We are going to take a quick break and then we will be back.
Hello and welcome back. It's R.sen again, coming back at you with another very special open mic that's happening on November 5th and 6th. It's called Poetry Therapy for Adults and Poetry Therapy for Teenagers. However, I just mixed the order. So Poetry Therapy for Teenagers on November 5th and Poetry Therapy for Adults on November 6th. It's a special one. It's virtual and it is free 99, and I believe that is a very important aspect to bring into poetry. I was actually having a discussion earlier with a mentor of mine, and we were talking about how to improve, how when we perform and when we write our pieces, we are in a certain space, right? Usually to get the inspiration, and sometimes to keep revisiting that space allows for us to revisit things that we don't want to revisit. And so this particular open mic is on a is on Google Meets, and it's on once a month every Saturday for adults and once a month every Friday for teenagers at 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is moderated by a spoken word artist named Keyana. She's really cool. She herself is a spoken word artist who is spiritually based, and when she performs through dance, because dance and spirituality is her therapy. So it's really cool to see that she's bringing it to a virtual space where people can come in and find some wealth, because you know what, mental health is wealth, right? What do you guys think, guys?
Definitely. It is definitely, mental health is definitely wealth, and it is really beautiful to see this these people who are taking this poetry and mental health and therapy and putting it out there for people at such a cheap price, I must say. And it is very helpful. I have been looking up some therapeutic poetry kind of workshops and more certificates, even for someone to be able to give or facilitate these workshops. And there are plenty. It's an emerging kind of study or emerging kind of field, but it is there. And it is very beautiful to see that she's also including the younger generation, younger people in these workshops, one for teenagers, because it is very, very important for teenagers to A, get involved in writing poetry, and B, get involved in this therapeutic and safe space for them. It is very interesting, especially after these couple years that teenagers have, that all of us have been through, but have affected teenagers mostly.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like,
it's not.
Go ahead. You say?
Oh no! Please, R.sen, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You first. I can say it.
That's cool. We're very polite here on the Poetry News. Yeah, so it's a. But no, I absolutely agree. I think each week, R.sen, you bring up a lot of spaces that I really wish had existed when I'd been at that point where I needed them. And this is another example of that. I think especially the fact that there's one specifically moderated for teenagers is really, really important, because I remember, we all get growing pains, and I think it's very easy to underestimate how painful a lot of those growing pains are. And it's also very easy when you get older to forget how difficult they were, and something that you might find easy to manage now in the past might have been incredibly difficult. And these safe spaces where you can talk about it not only helps you if you need to be in that space talking about it, but it's also a space where you can go to help others, either through your own encouragement or your own writing. And I did actually I think I went to there were I think I already know Keyana. I'm sure I've been to a couple of their mics last year at the height of the pandemic, and if they're the ones I'm thinking of, they're fantastic spaces. So yeah, thoroughly recommended.
Yeah. This particular space, for the same reason like you guys said, this particular space really resonated with me because I started doing poetry at the age of 16 when I realized that, first of all, growing up in a South Asian community, Indian specifically community, although mental health is much more talked about now, when I was growing up back in like the 20s, it was like a taboo topic. Like people didn't want to talk about it. People didn't even acknowledge mental health. So anything that was going on in my head, if I vocalized it, it kind of got judged. Like, why are you thinking like that? So to be able to write poetry was my outlet. And if this space existed, oh my God, this would have been like such a release to me. Even now, like it's such a release to me. I'm so glad it exists.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, mental health is so critical. It's one of the things that suffered most through the pandemic, either through not being able to be part of those relationships that you form with friends and family, or just through just having your thoughts echo around the same space over and over again because you're told not to leave the house or whatever. And like now more than ever, I'm so glad people are talking about it so much more. Some of these conversations are difficult, but they're so necessary, not just for yourself, but for people you care about.
Definitely. Well, yeah, so we know where to be next Saturday. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining in, and we will be back right after this break.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Poetry News. Unfortunately, we don't have Squigs here to do this bit. However, we have an article in Squigs style, and we hope Squigs is back with us very soon. So I would like to talk to you about an amazing poet. Now, the word amazing is overused, but in the case of Zareefa Jan, feel it's fully justified. So Zareefa is a Sufi poet who lives in Bandipora in North Kashmir. And about 25 years ago, Zareefa went to fetch some water from a brook and fell into a trance. When she came to, a rhyming couplet came to her mind, and that was translated as, I turned wine into my waning youth, burdened by my existence. My youth faded in this transient world and made me seek solace in hereafter, as my existence became my burden. And ever since then, Zareefa has been a prolific poet who has fallen into a trance during her writing. However, what makes Zareefa unique is that she is not able to read or write. And Zareefa has developed her own writing system to record her poems. And this writing system works as lines of circles that are read from right to left. And each circle is drawn slightly differently. And Zareefa is the only person in the world who can read this language of circles based on the size and slight variance of the circle, the distance between them. Zareefa can recite poems just by reading these circles. And like I say, the only person in the world who can do that. And it's also believed that Zareefa is the only poet in history to have invented their own language to document their writing. Zareefa is not just a poet, she is also the vice president of the Cultures and Science Society in Kashmir and has become very widely respected in her local community and beyond. Zareefa has written over 300 poems in this form and is also looking to publish her work both in Kashmiri with the original circle language side by side. So at this point, I would like to ask R.sen, Eddye, how do you feel about this? Inventing your own language to record your poems is mind-blowing.
The power of poetry, this is what I thought about, is that poetry is so powerful and such an interesting and such an important thing in poets' lives that we would go so far to the point with Zareefa here writing or inventing her own language, her own writing system, not her language, her own writing system to share poetry and to put down on paper these thoughts and these stories that she has to share, and it is just beautiful. I did read about the article a while ago, and it was just, I was amazed, and I'm amazed now, and it's just such a beautiful, like it's incomprehensible, like it's too much. Like I cannot put it together. Like it's just too much. Like words cannot express how powerful this is.
So
I agree.
true.
I mean, she created an art within an art, which is artception in my mind, right? So that's crazy. It's crazy in a great way. Like it's so brilliant that, I mean, she had me with just saying, what was it? My wine is my frolicking youth. That line had me hooked on her already. But then to have another language, like a whole nother system of writing, I am so intrigued. I am waiting for her books.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that was I turned wine into my waning youth.
Yeah, that was it. I was hooked already. I turned wine into my waning youth. Come on now.
And that's the first line of poetry you've ever written. I mean,
yeah, like
wow.
How dare you?
But, I know, but it's so true, isn't it? It's just, I mean, just the ingenuity just to invent your own writing system, and just the fact that, I mean, you know, I'm not sure I'd have that ability to overcome something like that. You know, it's a case of, I have all these poetic thoughts in my head, but I can't read or write. That's okay. I'll just invent my own language. You know, I mean that is proper next level stuff, and it's just, I cannot wait to read these poems either. It's just, you know, just, and then to see the circles side by side. Say, I should say, the article was from vice.com. I really should have mentioned that. We're linking the article below, and there's also a Times of India article about it. And in that article, you get to see about a 10-minute video, Zareefa not just performing some of the poetry, but also you get to see the process of actually documenting these poetries in the Circle 4.
Oh, cool. I'm definitely checking that out, because I wish I knew about this, but that's cool.
Yeah, poetry's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely. But yeah, well, so thank you, R.sen. Thank you, Eddie. And so yeah, that is all of the news that we have for this week. But that is far from everything we have at Poetry Global Network. If I rustle with the piece of paper that I have with me, with everything we have going on, because there is so much, I can't remember it all. Styled that out, I hope. So we have the Poets Lighthouse once per week. We have the Poets Reacts also once per week. We have the Poetry News coming at you every Monday at 7 p.m. London time. We have Breathe Poet. We have Bottoms Up, which is one of our open mics. We have Haven, another one of our open mics. We have loads of content all across our social media, and it's all wonderful and it's all fantastic. Isn't that right, Eddie?
It is. And you can check all of this on all of our socials. Find us on Instagram, on Facebook, soon on TikTok, here on YouTube. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Comment down below what your thoughts are on environmental poetry, what your thoughts are on this last piece of news we shared on inventing your own writing system to share poetry. Tell us, would you buy the book and read it? You should. It's my opinion. And everything, and what you think about therapeutic poetry. Don't forget to like, don't forget to share, don't forget to follow us on all of our socials. And if you have anything you would like to tell us, please send us an email at thepoetryglobalnetwork@gmail.com. That is all we have for you today. Thank you, Martin. Thank you, R.sen, for being with us. And we will see you all next week.
Take care, everyone. Thank you.